I never thought I'd end up here, honestly. My name's Mark, and I've been with Lisa for about 5 years. We met in college, and from the start, everything seemed perfect, or so I thought. She had this fiery attitude, always quick with a sharp comment, but I loved that about her. She was smart, beautiful, and confident, and I was pretty convinced I'd found the one. We got married last summer in a small ceremony surrounded by friends and family, and I thought we were solid. I mean, I had no reason to doubt her. But looking back, there were signs, small, almost insignificant at first. She'd start working late more often, claiming it was just extra hours or a project that needed finishing. Then she'd get strangely defensive when I asked about her phone, or she'd disappear into the bathroom for ages when we were out with friends. Still, I brushed it off. She always had an answer, and honestly, I was too wrapped up in the honeymoon phase to question her too hard. Plus, I was busy with my job, trying to build a life with her, believing I was lucky. The real cracks started forming about a month ago. She'd come home later than usual, smelling different, like she'd been somewhere else. She'd brush me off when I asked, get bitchy if I pushed her about her whereabouts. The more she lied, the more I felt this gnawing suspicion. I had this weird feeling like I was losing her, or maybe I never truly had her to begin with. I rationalized it as paranoia, but deep down I knew something was off. Then, last week, she sent a text during dinner that made my stomach drop. I saw the name Jake pop up on her screen. It wasn't just a casual message. It was a flirty, suggestive text, something about how she missed him, how she couldn't wait to see him again. I froze. My heart started pounding like a jackhammer. I felt this sick, sinking feeling wash over me because I knew somehow that my wife, who had always acted like she loved me, was screwing my best friend. That's when everything changed for me. All the doubts, all the tiny, nagging feelings suddenly made sense. She'd been cheating on me, and with Jake, no less. I didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was right there, in front of my face, clear as day. I didn't confront her right away. I needed a plan, some evidence, some way to catch her in the act or get her to admit the truth. But inside, I was already breaking. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me with my best friend? We'd all hung out together, played golf, gone on trips. How could I have been so blind? I kept telling myself it was a mistake, a one-time thing, but the way she was texting him, so casual and intimate, told me it was much worse. It was ongoing. I knew I had to do something, but I was also terrified of what I'd find out if I pushed too hard. Still, I knew I couldn't just ignore it anymore. This was wrong, and I had to know the truth, so I waited. I didn't confront her right away because I knew once I did, there'd be no turning back. Instead, I started digging, going through her phone when she wasn't looking, checking her social media, her emails. I needed to be sure, because if I was going to destroy everything we had, I had to be 100% sure. And sure enough, I found more. Texts, messages, photos, nothing outright explicit, but enough to make it painfully obvious that something was going on. They were talking about meeting up, about how lonely she felt, how much she missed him even when she was standing right next to me. The worst part was how she lied about everything. Every time I'd bring up the messages or ask about her late nights, she'd throw a fit. Called me paranoid, insecure, crazy even. She'd say I was imagining things, that Jake was just a friend, just a guy she worked with, that I was jealous and overreacting. But I knew the truth. I could see it in her eyes, this cold, dismissive look that she tried to hide behind her bitchy attitude. She'd lash out, call me crazy for doubting her, and even insult me, saying I was too insecure to handle her success, her independence, her sex drive. Yeah, she told me she was just a woman who loved sex and needed her space. That I was just a boring guy who couldn't satisfy her. I was losing sleep over this. Every night, I'd lie awake wondering if I was just some fool, some guy who thought he was in love but was used all along. I kept asking myself if I ever really loved her, or if I just convinced myself I did because I wanted to keep my life simple. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd been a fool from the start. She had a bitchy, manipulative streak I hadn't noticed before. She'd lie outright about her whereabouts, then accuse me of being suspicious just because I asked questions. I was starting to see that she was a master at deception. She knew exactly how to hide her tracks, how to make me doubt what I saw. And then, just when I thought I was about to lose my mind, I caught her. I was snooping around her messages on our shared iPad. I know, probably stupid, but I needed closure, and there it was. A message from Jake, sent during our honeymoon. They were talking about meeting up again, about making it special, about how much she missed him, how she loved the thrill of sneaking around. I had all the evidence I needed, right then and there. Honestly, I felt like I was punched in the stomach. All those months pretending everything was perfect and it was all a lie. All the time I spent trying to build this life with her and she was out screwing my best friend. That's when it hit me. I was just a placeholder, a guy she used to keep her life together until she found someone better. Someone who actually gave her what she wanted. Sex, excitement, independence. I still didn't know what I was going to do at that point. I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling numb and furious at the same time. I knew I couldn't keep this to myself anymore. I needed to confront her, but I had to be careful. If she was this manipulative, I couldn't trust her to tell the truth. I had to catch her in the act, make her admit it openly. That day marked a turning point. I realized I was no longer just a naive husband. I was someone who'd been betrayed in the worst way possible. And now I had to decide what to do with that knowledge. I could see the cracks in what I thought was my marriage, and I knew this was only the beginning of a storm I couldn't ignore. The day I decided to confront her, I felt like I was walking into a storm I couldn't escape from. I had the evidence, the screenshots, the messages, everything. Part of me wanted to break down right then and there, but I knew better. If I was going to get any truth out of her, I had to stay calm, controlled. So I waited until she came home from her workday, which, of course, I now knew was just her meeting Jake or whoever she was hiding behind her bitchy smirk. When she finally strolled in, all flashy and dismissive like I was just some idiot who didn't matter, I felt my fists clench. I didn't want to yell or accuse her right away. Instead, I kept my voice steady and soft, like I was talking about the weather. "Lisa, we need to talk," I said, watching her roll her eyes but trying to mask her irritation. "About what?" she snapped, crossing her arms. I pulled out my phone, showing her the messages from Jake. Her face flickered with something. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or anger before she quickly recovered her bitchy persona. "That's nothing," she said, tossing her hair. "You're paranoid. You always jump to conclusions. Jake's just a friend, Mark. You know I would never cheat on you." I looked her straight in the eyes, feeling my heart pounding. "Really? Because I saw these messages. During our honeymoon, Lisa. How do you explain that?" My voice was steady, but inside I was a mess. I wanted her to deny it, to give me some kind of sign that I was wrong, but she just sneered and laughed. "Oh, please, that. You're reading too much into it. Jake's just a buddy. You're insecure and you don't trust me. Typical, I don't have to explain myself to you." That's when I saw the anger flare up in her eyes, the bitchy, dismissive glare that I'd been seeing for weeks. "You're making a big deal out of nothing," she spat. "I'm a woman who has needs, Mark. And I don't have to justify my sex life to you. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." The words hit me like a punch. She was justifying her cheating, calling me boring, not good enough. That's when I realized she'd been manipulating me all along. This wasn't just about some affair, it was about her completely rewriting the story of us. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak. I wanted to scream, to destroy something, but I just kept my cool, because I knew this was only the beginning. I told her I had more proof, that I knew everything about her and Jake, and that she'd better be honest. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk and said, "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I still look good and I still want sex. Maybe you should get your act together instead of accusing me of cheating." I couldn't believe the audacity. She was lying right to my face, insulting me, twisting everything to make herself the victim. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she lie so easily? How could she act like I was the crazy one? I realized in that moment that her entire persona was a mask. She was a bitchy, manipulative woman who used her charm and beauty to get what she wanted, and she didn't care about me or our marriage. All I could think about was how I had trusted her, how I had believed she loved me, and how she had been screwing around with my best friend behind my back. I wanted to walk away, to forget this nightmare, but I knew I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to hear the truth from her, No more lies, no more excuses. The confrontation was just starting, and I could feel that this was going to change everything. I just didn't know if I was ready for how deep this betrayal went or what I'd do next. All I knew was that I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I deserved the truth, and I was going to get it, one way or another. After I laid everything out on the table, her reaction was classic Lisa, shrugging, rolling her eyes, and dismissing everything like I was just some insecure fool. She said, "You really need to stop overthinking everything. I don't have time for this drama. Jake's just a friend, like I told you. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." Her voice was sweet but dripping with venom, like she was trying to manipulate me into backing down. I could see the smirk she was hiding, the way her eyes flickered with that bitchy glint she always used when she thought she was winning. I felt a surge of anger. I was tired of her lies, her bullshit. I told her I knew the truth, that she was sleeping with Jake, that she'd been lying to my face for months, and that I wasn't going to stand for it anymore. That's when she finally snapped. She started yelling, calling me all kinds of names: paranoid, insecure, controlling. She told me I was jealous of Jake, that I was just afraid of losing her because I wasn't enough anymore. She said I was boring, that I didn't satisfy her sexually, and that maybe I was the one who needed to fix himself. That moment was like a punch to the gut. I'd always suspected she had a bitchy streak, but hearing her say those things to my face, about me, about our marriage, made me feel sick. It was like she was trying to turn everything around, make me the bad guy. She told me I was paranoid for even thinking she could cheat, and that if I really loved her, I'd trust her. But I didn't trust her anymore. Not after all those lies, not after the texts, not after knowing she'd been screwing my best friend behind my back. It was chaos. I felt my fists clench, my blood boiling. I wanted to yell, to scream, to tear her apart. But I also knew I couldn't just lose it. I had to stay composed, keep my head clear. I told her I was leaving, that I couldn't stay in a marriage where I wasn't respected, where I was played for a fool. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she was already planning her next move. "Fine," she spat. "Go, you're wasting your time. Jake and I are just friends, and you're just paranoid. Besides, you're not going anywhere until I say so." That moment was like a slap in the face. Her words weren't just a lie, they were an outright insult. To me, to everything I believed in. I realized then how deep her manipulation ran. She was smart, too smart. She knew how to twist the knife, how to make me doubt myself, how to turn the tables. I felt this strange mixture of heartbreak, rage, and disgust. I'd loved her, trusted her. I'd even defended her to others. But now I saw her for what she really was. A bitchy, selfish woman who used her charm and sex to control everyone around her, especially me. I walked out of that apartment feeling like I was in a nightmare. My mind was racing, trying to process everything I just heard. Part of me wanted to go back, to shake her, to demand the truth. But I knew better. She'd already shown me she was a master at lying, at manipulating. I had to get out, think this through. So I left, slammed the door behind me, and just stood there on the porch, staring at the dark night sky. I felt numb, betrayed, and more lost than I'd ever been. It hit me then I'd been used. Used for her sex, her validation, her excitement. I wasn't enough for her, not anymore. She didn't love me, not really. She loved the idea of having a husband, of having a life with stability, but she craved something more. Someone who gave her what she wanted, whenever she wanted. And I was just a placeholder until someone better, someone more exciting came along. That's what really cut deep. I'd given her everything, and she'd thrown it all away for a quick fling with my best friend. Now I was left with the mess, the questions, the heartbreak. I kept asking myself if I was the fool all along, if I was just stupid for trusting her. But I knew I'd have to face the aftermath eventually. How do I rebuild after discovering I was just used? How do I go on knowing that the woman I loved, the woman I married, was nothing but a bitchy, manipulative cheat? That's what I'm still trying to figure out. The days that followed were a blur. I didn't sleep much, didn't eat much either. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, smirking at me, dismissing everything I said, lying straight to my face like I was some idiot. I kept replaying that confrontation over and over, trying to make sense of it all. Was I just a fool for loving her? Or was she truly that manipulative from the start? The worst part was how calm she stayed during that fight, like she was enjoying the power she had over me. I realized she was a bitch, cold, calculating, and entirely selfish. She had lied, cheated, and then played the victim all at once. I started to think about what I wanted to do next. Part of me wanted to go back, demand answers, call her out in front of everyone. But deep down, I knew that wouldn't change anything. She was good at twisting things, good at making herself look innocent. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. I was so angry I could have screamed, but I also felt this crushing sadness, like I had lost the woman I thought I knew. I kept asking myself if I ever truly loved her or if I just loved the idea of being loved. Finally, I made the decision. I couldn't stay in that house, in that marriage, pretending everything was okay. I packed a bag, took a deep breath, and left. I didn't tell her where I was going, I just needed to get away. I went to a hotel nearby, away from her manipulative games. Sitting there alone, I felt this strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. I was finally free from her grip, but at the same time, I felt like I'd been shattered into a million pieces. How could she do this? How could she just lie and cheat with someone I trusted so much? Over the next few days, I just kept thinking about everything. The betrayal, the lies, her bitchy attitude, the way she dismissed my feelings. I started to question what I'd done wrong, but I quickly realized that it wasn't about me. It was her, all her. She's the one who lied, who cheated, who used me like some kind of object. I felt stupid for ever believing she loved me. Looking back, I see now how she's always been a manipulator, a woman who uses her charm and her bitchy attitude to get what she wants. I should have seen it from the start, but I was blinded by love and hope. I also started to think about Jake, my supposed best friend. How could he do this to me? We were tight, or so I thought. The betrayal cuts even deeper, knowing that someone I trusted, someone I considered a brother, was screwing my wife behind my back. That realization made me feel like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept asking myself if I was just a placeholder for her, if she ever really loved me, or if I was just convenient. It's a terrible feeling, knowing you were used for sex, for validation, for excitement. I kept replaying all the signs I missed, all the moments I should have seen the truth. Now I know I can't fix this. I can't undo the betrayal or the lies. The only thing left is to move forward and learn from this mess. I want to believe there's a better life ahead, even if it feels impossible right now. I've realized she's a bitch, selfish, manipulative, and totally selfish about her sex and her lies. I don't think I'll ever fully trust again, but I know I need to heal, to rebuild myself. The question is, how do I do that after being used like this? That's what I'm still trying to figure out, but I know this. I'll never let anyone treat me like I was just some fool. I deserve better, and someday, I hope to find someone who actually loves me for who I am, not what I can give or how I can be used. Looking back now, I realize that I was blind for a long time. I thought I loved her, that she loved me back, but the truth is, I was just a pawn in her game. She played her manipulative little tricks, lied so easily, and threw her sex drive in my face every time she didn't get her way. Honestly, I should have seen the signs earlier, but I was too caught up in the idea of us, what I wanted us to be, rather than what she truly was. The worst part is how she made me doubt myself. That bitchy attitude, her dismissive smirk, her constant lies, that's what sticks with me now. I kept asking myself if I was just a fool, if I was stupid for trusting someone who clearly didn't feel the same. But deep down, I see the truth. I wasn't the one who betrayed our vows. She was. The woman I married turned out to be someone I couldn't recognize anymore. A selfish, manipulative bitch who used her beauty, her sex, and her lies to keep her options open. I've learned a lot through this. Mostly that trusting blindly gets you nowhere. That people like her, who are all about their sex and their ego, will use you if you let them. And that the only person you can really count on is yourself. I've had to rebuild my confidence from scratch, remind myself that I deserve someone who respects me, who loves me for who I am, not some bitchy woman who's just out for her own pleasure. Now I'm alone, yes, but I feel a sense of relief I've never felt before. It hurts like hell, but I know I'm better off without her. I don't think I'll ever forget what happened. That betrayal will stay with me forever. but I'll use it as a lesson. No more trusting someone who lies to my face, no more ignoring the signs that she was never really mine to begin with. There's a strange kind of freedom in knowing the truth, even if it's a brutal one. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't get played again. I'll take my time, heal, and move on. One day, I hope I find someone who truly loves me, who values me and doesn't use me as just another conquest or a fool to be played. For now, I'll focus on rebuilding myself, trusting. Again, learning how to love without fear and never, ever letting anyone manipulate me like she did. To anyone out there who's been betrayed or feels like they were just used, trust me, it hurts, but it's not the end. You'll come out stronger. You just have to be willing to face the pain, accept the truth, and move forward. I know I will, and I hope you do too.